Well, guys, it happened. We got the notification yesterday on Twitter that they were doing this. I don't think anybody expected this to drop this fast. But it is here. The March update, New World dev update for New World. This is the so far monthly video that they've been doing. This video is 57 minutes long. So buckle up, boys and girls. It's gonna be a long one. But we are doing a reaction video, and we are more than likely gonna do the entire thing. Now, granted, like I said, nobody expected this thing to drop now, so I'm just, I'm in a fucking Phillies hoodie. Like, I'm not prepared for this at all. But hey, we are going, we are watching, and we are reacting. Let's get it.
Hey guys, quite a few things today. We have a long list, so let's dive right in. The first thing that we're going to talk about is we're going to deep dive into March. We're going to go over the weapons in combat. We're also going to go back into reducing friction. I know it was requested that we go into a little bit more detail. We're going to go over upcoming events, customer support, which is another big question, community questions actually from the forums and streamers, and then finally, the roadmap. And with me today is Scott Lane, and how are you feeling about all that?
Yeah,
I'm
fucking
excited.
wait.
Like we've been wanting to talk about a lot of this for a long time, especially the roadmap. But there's a ton of great content in today's episode, so let's get started.
All right.
Let's get it. Let's go. Can we get a date,
Hey guys,
please?
so we are going to go into a deep dive with the upcoming stuff. Joining me today is Rob Chesney, Mike Willett, and Charles Bradbury, our art director.
Also, guys, I'm going to try not to pause. This is literally 57 minutes long. So I'm going to try not to pause as much as I can, but I'm also going to try not to speak over them. So bear with me.
We're going to go a little bit into the art side of things too, which is really exciting. Let's just start off with what are the pieces of new content that March is going to be experiencing?
Well,
Go.
we're real excited about this. So we have a brand new expedition, the Tempest's Heart, which is the Mertengard expedition.
Amazing expedition,
This is
by
kind
the
of like
way.
the whole finale of the Isabella arc, which is part of our story. And so Rob's
Also
gonna get into
fairly
that in
difficult.
just a sec. I just want to get out a couple other things we're doing first. We're super excited.
Lots
about
of
it.
bosses.
And then we're also introducing a brand new weapon type, the Blunderbuss.
Right.
So it's a mid-ranged weapon that basically scales off of strength, and we're really excited about those two additions that are coming. But we should definitely dive right back into
Yeah,
the
I mean, this
Tempest's Heart.
is the diving deep, so you're just giving us a little taste now. I mean,
You want to talk about the story, or you want to talk about the art first? The story?
We can touch either. I mean, there's so many new additions to it because you're diving into the mind of Isabella. So what we've tried to this is one of our larger expeditions, multiple
Yeah,
bosses, multiple
it's fairly
encounters
long.
against Isabella, and some transformative, if you will, and then some kind of like new set pieces that are just like awe-inspiring and super interesting. I think that's actually a really good place to start. Is like that evoking that story visually.
Yeah.
So Tempest Heart, we really wanted this to push the limits of what we could do visually with an expedition space. Like this is sort of a surreal, supernatural dive into an alternate reality space. Like
Let me move my
looking at
cam down a
if
little.
the space is totally taken over by corruption and chaos. Like how do we express that? And also digging into Isabella's story a little bit. And we wanted really big set
There we go.
pieces to kind of showcase that and feel really different than something players have experienced before. And have this big final showdown with Isabella in a really cool space.
Yeah, and so I mean that's if you've been following the story, that's the culmination of the entire main story arc from the beginning of the game when you first wash up on the beach. But one of the things that I think is super cool about it, I mean, the whole idea of Eternum and this idea where it's an island where everyone lives forever. Death is no longer the threat, but the threats are actually they're more psychological. They're threats of insanity. They're threats of despair. They're threats of corruption. And so this whole idea of Isabella and the way she's embraced corruption, it's a psychological thing, and that's why the final realization of it is going into the
And it very
core of her
much is
power
too.
is
You see
going into her mind.
images of her mind
The way
in
that she can
corners
tell the
everywhere. It's
players go
crazy.
through, they'll get to see.
It's quite the mind trip.
Showing pieces of Isabella's story from the past, and even meet a character who has a personal connection to Isabella outside the expedition, who is really interested in uncovering all of her story. So I think there'll be a lot more I mean, all of Isabella's story, I guess, is revealed here that we haven't shown so far. So it's pretty exciting.
There's a ton of like little Easter eggs therein. Like we put a bunch of like hidden side things that you can collect and utilize in order to unlock other things. The repeatable quests that are like outside of the expedition that you can gain delve into like other little corners of like her personality and why she is the way she is.
Archimedes there? That's
No. Archimedes does not travel.
All right.
He waits for Simon.
Oh, okay. All right, fine. All right. I love his outdoor quests. Or he's sitting outside just like wanting more bones.
But these ones are really focused on like finding out what made her the way that she is, and also the reflection of like her mental state and having no reprieve and constantly being at the will of these forces of corruption and then her own kind of like desires. So we hope players find it fascinating and
Oh, it is. Or at least from what I played of it on the PTR. When it goes live, it's going to be even better.
Wrapping up like the main storyline, right? But this isn't the end of the game. You're just getting warmed up. So where is the story going to be going next?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And when players finally do defeat Isabella, we actually have a cinematic that foreshadows what's coming up. And really, if you look back at the story arc so far, like players have been introduced to the Angry Earth. They've learned about the Soulless Lost, and this ancient civilization that was here before. That there's just a huge amount of mystery surrounding. Without giving too much away, obviously, I mean, these are the mysteries that we're going to explore as we go forward, and we're going to deal with these different groups, and corruption may not be the threat in the next story arc. But precisely like some of the forces and the characters that the player encountered in the main storyline so far will be coming back, and perhaps like not as friendly as you thought they were in your first meeting.
Suspicious.
Yeah, I was going to jump on that. In this expedition, in the cinematic, and kind of beyond that, I think we're really looking at how we tell story and trying to come up with new ways to like present narrative and story.
You think he's talking about the guy at the castle who went and got corrupted and we never seen from him again? And he was quite nice to us? The bald guy, the Fisher guy?
To the player so they can like ingest it in new and interesting ways that kind of ups the ante for the whole game a little bit, which I think is exciting.
I love cutscenes, all that, so that's great to hear.
Since we're talking about story elements, I want to go back.
And
to
this game doesn't really have a lot of that either.
Our brand new weapon, mid-range weapon, scales on strength and intelligence. There's two different trees. One where you play up close, you're like kind of like glued to your opponent with different ways to like control them with like grappling hooks and netting and big spread shots. And the other one is more like keep away, where you can blast opponents back and then land grenade shots on them and a bunch of cool stuff. So I love the dichotomy there. But what's interesting to me is that you've also incorporated that into like the legendary weapon quest. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the weapon's really awesome. So many of our
I've not done the
really
legendary weapon blunderbuss quest yet.
But yeah, for the story, we had a lot of fun kind of dreaming up what the story could be, and it actually comes down to the conflict between a designer and an engineer as they're trying to build the ultimate blunderbuss, which is something that's very familiar to us in game development. We're always navigating these waters of different perspectives and how different disciplines kind of bring, different priorities to each thing that we work on. And I think this will be, a fun little story for players to play through, and then at the end, of course, you get the badass blunderbuss that's the that everything that anybody would want.
Okay, well, I mean, anything else that you want to add to this section of the dev video?
Oh, well, it's not just that stuff that we're working on. We're constantly, like, there's going to be a ton of bug fixes, a lot of quality of life improvements that are being made.
Already been a
some
lot.
of which we're creating a lot more solo options for the MSQ, so you're not required to actually run certain expeditions.
MSQ is?
So for the uninitiated, the MSQs are our main story quests, or the main story line. So a lot of times you would have...
So you no longer have to defeat... So you no longer have to go to Dynasty Shipyard and defeat Dynasty Shipyard in order to move on in the story quest? Because my wife was stuck at that forever, because she could never find a team to do it.
Have to enter an expedition in order to accomplish that leg of your journey. And Rob's team has done an awesome job of putting in alternatives for solo players so they can also, hit those points and keep moving along their path, just in case, they don't have group access or they really feel like playing as a solo player. Just that's their deal.
Yeah, and it's nice because I play with my friends, but at the time they actually had all done it. And then when it was my turn to do it, I didn't have anyone to, do it with. And then I was just like, well,
My wife's exact problem. She couldn't do Dynasty Shipyard for like 3 weeks because we literally couldn't find anyone to do it. And you have to do Dynasty Shipyard in order to move on in the story quest.
this is awkward, so.
So your friends wouldn't come back and play with you?
No,
Wow.
I know, I need new friends.
Gotta check them friends. Anyway.
But that's great to hear that now you're like, okay, no problem, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, and in addition to that, just a couple of little highlights that we'll touch upon later is that tons of updates to POIs. We've added a lot more for rewards for just exploring the world, so more dynamic events, roadside encounters, new wandering enemies, updates to wholesale POIs, and we're going to talk about
Give
that
us
later.
more
But
chest
we've
luck
also
because
added,
stockpile
infinite
chests
ammo
suck.
to weapons. We'll talk about that later. In addition, one real big thing that I love, just because we love running expeditions, is now only one member of your party actually needs to be at the entrance of an expedition for everyone to participate. So now you don't have to have the minimum requirement.
Should have
of
been
3
like that
present
from
in the area.
launch.
It's just as long as one person in your party is there, everyone else will get teleported.
I honestly didn't understand why 3 people needed to be there from the beginning. I didn't understand that at all.
My question is,
Makes
then,
no
is
sense.
when they leave, do they leave out of the dungeon or do they get teleported back
They
to
go
where they
back
were?
to where they were.
Oh, all right. So I could be in the middle farming some ore and they pull me in.
Should operate just like Outpost Rush.
Okay, awesome. That's that's great news.
I'll throw out one other thing that we're adding that, a lot of, players who are deep into the game may not appreciate as much, but we're streamlining some of the early quests in the main story. Like improving the storytelling and making the quest objectives a little bit more exciting and a lot more clear. And to the point that Charles made earlier, like, even now we're looking back through early parts of the game and looking for opportunities to improve the storytelling and certainly the presentation quality of the storytelling.
Right.
So
Okay.
ongoing.
That's great news. All right, guys. Thank you so much for giving me all this great information for the deep dive, and I can't wait to experience it all myself. So
No
all
date.
right, thank you.
Or at least not yet.
Now we're going to get into the weapons and combat part of the video. Joining me today is David Verifai and Dave Hall, and we're going to be going into some of the questions that I pulled from the forums from you guys. So the first one for you all today is the musket and the blunderbuss. As we mentioned before, the musket is one of the lesser used weapons. What was the plan to bring now in the blunderbuss, which is many looking outside in is very similar, but if you want to go into greater detail about that.
Yeah, I think, we believe the musket has a pretty cool place in the weapon pantheon, so to speak, of New World. The musket's obviously long range, but the blunderbuss brings this cool short range gameplay. Another big thing is it's a strength-based range weapon, which I think is going to be really important, right? Like it opens up different builds, different opportunities.
Get rid of that fucking shit great axe.
And then lastly, it brings some pretty cool mobility stuff that I think.
Because great axe kind of is shit for DPS.
Okay. All right, so it's more of like a shotgun effect and a little shorter, closer to you. All right, that's exciting to know. As he said, Dave, can you go into detail about the blunderbuss that we're going to be getting?
Absolutely, yeah. So as Dave mentioned, it's more of a short to mid-range weapon with a high focus on mobility. It has 2 trees that we have right now. One is the containment tree. Containment tree is mainly about getting close to your enemy, keeping them there, and then unloading basically a bunch of shotgun shells in their face, right? Like it's a very powerful, violent weapon, so I love it. And it's some of the other abilities. I got the claw shot, which is probably my favorite ability in the game, which is actually you hit the enemy with it and it draws you into the enemy. So it puts you right in the perfect position to blast them. We also have the net shot, which will slow them down if they're trying to get away from you. And then we also have the Azoth Blast, which is kind of the high damage, close range one. Once you get in there, you can use it. Our other tree is the Chaos tree. This one's a little more mid-range. We're going to have splitting grenades, a mortar shot, which is actually just an entirely different game mode, basically switches you into it. And you can just rain down damage from like mid-range around there. Anybody gets close, we have the
That's the intelligence
shot,
tree.
which is gonna knock them down, so you can get away from them at that point. So a lot of really.
At which, if you're a bruiser, you're probably not going to want to use any of the containment tree, to be honest.
I could see it also driving the opponents insane with you. The shotgun sounds like you're going to be moving around a lot. So
Containment tree is going to be bruiser.
The 2 trees offer sort of different styles, right? Like one's about It's a little more on the DPS side, right? It's about like engaging
Yep.
with one player, moving towards them, slowing them down, doing some damage. And then the
Strength.
chaos tree is a little more about disruption. Like it'll be powerful in wars.
Intelligence.
Might be good in some builds. Like, I think it's going to give a lot of diversity.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
In other words, if you're a
now
full-on
bringing in,
bruiser,
you
you're
know,
probably not
another
going to want to
weapon, the
use
first
any of
weapon
the
that you're
intelligence
bringing in.
tree.
Well, no, I guess the void
At all,
gauntlet, and
probably.
now the blunderbuss, and you know, something that gets thrown around a lot is the meta. You know, what weapons are the meta? What you know, what's the favorite of everyone? Do you guys take into consideration what the meta is at the time when creating weapons or bringing weapons in?
We definitely consider meta for balance purposes, right? Like I think which weapons are being used
Yeah.
very highly, is an indication of how strong they are, right? Like people generally don't use the worst weapons. So we definitely look at that and affects our choices in balance. I wouldn't say it's the only thing, right? Like sometimes there's just fun things people enjoy, but it gives us places to really investigate and like go, all right, everyone's using this ability or this weapon or this build. We need to take a closer look at that.
Right. Speaking of taking a closer look, we bring up the Void Gauntlet once again. It's currently still kicking butt in PvP, things like that. Are you guys looking deeper into that again?
We are looking into
One
it
of
a
the
little bit. I
newest
think,
weapons, by the way.
One of the things we've heard is that, why is the Void Gauntlet like the best weapon for PvP crowd control, right? And I think those are the types of statements that I think really, we're considering.
Because you put an orb of decay on the ground that causes debuffs if anyone's standing in it, and it's fucking massive.
Weapon, a support weapon to, support your team. And also, a little bit
That's
of
why.
healing. So
And it also
that
causes
part of it
slow,
is
I'm pretty
something
sure,
we didn't
too.
really want it to be front and center, so that's something we're going to be looking at.
Okay, and then bringing the blunderbuss in again. It's considering the meta and the balancing. You look at
Blunderbuss
it,
isn't
the
going
whole
to change the
entire
meta, I
picture,
don't
not just one
think.
specific
It's
weapon.
not
Yeah, I think
that
in terms
extremely
of
strong
new
of a
weapons,
weapon.
We consider meta a little bit less when building a new weapon.
I mean, it might
because
be for
weapons
intelligence.
take a long time to build, right? So the meta is going to shift, 2-3 times in the amount of time it takes us to build.
But for the bruiser shit, that's
Meta
just going to
is
be
less
like
of
a,
concern. Instead, we look at like
table setting
what is the
weapon
role of
for
weapon?
a hammer,
Does this have a unique
really.
place in the sort of weapon pantheon? Does it provide some new and different gameplay? That's mostly what we think about with new weapons.
All right. And then, I mean, we're here for weapons in combat. Let's just talk about, is there anything else that you guys would like to add when it comes to the weapons in combat in game?
Absolutely. One of the things we're adding in March is an in and out of combat state, and it's something we're going to keep adding on to and attaching things to. The first thing we've done is when you're out of combat, you will have a constant regen now on your character. So that's going to help you get back into battle much faster. And I think it's
Like
gonna be
health?
a really big boon for the early players and for the late level players too. So.
Okay, that's great. Well, that's very exciting for people just diving into that. So thank you guys so much for joining me.
No longer
and
have to
that's it
carry
for
a bunch of
weapons in
food
combat.
on you to regen health all the time. Yay! That's a big problem early
Okay, so
game.
this section is about reducing friction. We
Like
did
early
touch a bit
game,
about
like
this last month. And
1
we
to
even made more
35,
changes
40,
since
that's a
then, and
real
we're
problem.
talking about making more changes in the future. So we're going to talk about that because that's why we're here. Surprise. So guys, last month, how were the first changes, accepted, and what were some things that we worked on?
I think it went overall really well. Players really seemed to like the changes to fast travel. I think that was the big one. Now you can zip around the map. The Azoth cost is, almost negligible. I think that's great. Other big wins, I think the housing tax reduction, people really noticed. We did some loosening of orbs for expeditions. There's more to do there. But I think overall, the reception has been good. I think, we probably should have done some of this earlier, but we're on it and we're going to keep working on it.
Yeah, it's awesome to see that we're gathering.
You're doing
more
it
and more
now. That's
feedback
all
on
that
the
matters.
forums, and you guys are getting more and more comfortable with changing certain things and finding a nice balance. Can we go into detail of some things that are going to be coming?
You gotta realize, this MMO is less than 6 months old. This is the youngest MMO on the market right now. It's gonna have issues. It's gonna have problems. It's gonna have lack of content. It's gonna have bugs. It's young in its life cycle. It came out in September. So we're almost 6 months old. Almost. So, we're not even a half a year old yet. Relax. They're getting there. Yes, we know the game has no content. Yes, we know the game has bugs. It has bot issues. It's got a lot of problems. We all know that. Musa.
coming up in different changes?
Yeah, for March we have some pretty big changes coming also. The first one is you're going to be able to move while you're in your inventory. So we call it's a big deal.
Nice.
You're going to be able to move your equipment around, do whatever you need to do as you're running around.
It's gonna be a nice one.
The world. So it's going to be a really big change, really nice quality of life there. Some of the other ones, a big one is the infinite ammo. So for our range weapons, you're going to have infinite ammo. So
I mean, it's gonna be nice for blunderbuss. I don't have to make ammo for it.
Tier 2. So
Because you know my engineering is nothing.
Once you get a weapon, you can use it as long as you want. So no worries there. Some of the other good ones, we're going to be able to sign up for war and invasion from the maps.
Oh, okay, so you don't have to go to it. Okay.
Absolutely. And then when you do sell back your house nowadays, you're going to get 50% back, which is pretty nice.
Selling my Reekwater house back to the game day one as soon as I log on to this server. I want half my money back for that house because Reekwater houses are dog shit.
Little extra cash there.
Or at least the
also gonna increase
5,000
rewards
houses
for
the little
raising
huts
more,
are.
Get a little more rewards there for the people participating. And then I think, and then the durability loss. So one of the things we did is like, you're only going to lose durability on the items that you have equipped, nothing in your.
Thank fucking God. Duh. Again, should have been like that from launch. But it's been a long road, boys. Been a long road. But we finally made it. We seen the light at the end of the tunnel when they got rid of it and they only made bound to you items take damage. We knew the light was at the end of the tunnel when they did that. We knew it was coming. We made it, boys. Only get damaged on items that are equipped. Should have been like that from launch, but we're finally there.
Your inventory and not your tools either.
So that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, and not your tools either, bitch.
Doing all your
Bet.
harvesting runs and things like that.
And
Okay.
expeditions also.
And expeditions, big.
That's true. Absolutely.
So, and then I feel like we're getting one or two.
Well, my biggest one, my favorite one, because I do a lot of crafting and I've got stuff everywhere in every separate town. So in March, we're going to do something big. You can now move stuff from any town to any other town for free, regardless of faction. So if you know right now in game, your faction has to own both the town you're in and the town you're taking stuff from, and there's a gold cost. It'll be free, and there is no longer a faction requirement, which basically means you can get stuff from anywhere. It's like it's our first.
Again, should have been like that from launch, but we're there, boys. See, the problem with this is this game tried to put way too much emphasis on a faction owning a territory because they made it so valuable for factions to own territories for so many different reasons. You know what they're doing now? They're getting rid of that value. They're saying, you know what? The factions are the factions. If you want to be in a faction, go ahead. The factions are a core part of gameplay, but you are no longer going to get town buffs from being in a certain faction that owns that. All you're going to do is get money. Thank fucking God. Duh. Should have been like that from launch, but we there, boys.
First step towards a more global storage system.
Okay.
We're only 19 minutes into this shit.
Especially because I have cooking stuff, in this storage, all my special spell stuff in another storage, and now I don't have to travel to do those things. I can stay in one area.
Yep.
And I guess that's good too, because some towns, don't have the right tables. So now you can now go to the places with the right tables, and you're still able to access all your stuff. So
Thank
all
God.
That's absolutely. I'm a huge fan of that. And I mean, is there even anything else, any more to come after all of that?
Yeah, so longer term, there's definitely still stuff we're looking at. This is going to take a little bit longer to get to some of this. But one of the things we're looking at is salvaging. You get a lot of gear in our game because of the way it works that might not be interesting to you. And salvaging right now is a little unrewarding.
I would say about 85 to 90% of the gear that you get out of chests in this game is useless. 85 to 90, roughly. Because the refining agents aren't useless. Refining agents usually aren't useless. But all the greens, all the blues, hell, even most of the purples that you get are fucking useless. Let's be honest. Absolutely useless. Looting in this game is not rewarding whatsoever. And now I think they know that. And let's hear what they have to say about it.
It's not celebrated well. So that's something we're definitely looking into. Like, if you get a pretty cool weapon, but it's just not right for you, that you can at least salvage it for something that's interesting. Some other changes, like, you know, the faction control points and the territory upgrade bonuses that people get. A lot of those have sort of become less useful now with some of these friction changes we've made it. So we're going to be adjusting a lot of those and retuning them. And we may even give players a way to sort of reset the choices they made in standing bonuses. So they can make choices, you know, especially now that you're 60, a lot of those experience.
I was going to say all the experience bonuses that are now just a waste.
So that stuff's further in the future, but we're working on it. Another one, I think, you know, Expedition Orbs is a continual topic. We made some, I think, starting to make some good changes in February with giving more access. But I think we've got more ways to go there. I think our vision for the future is a world where orbs aren't required for expeditions, but instead potentially buff the rewards you get from them. So we're still working on that.
We are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, my boys and ladies. We are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. It's coming, boys. It's coming. We almost there. They know that tuning orbs are bullshit. They know that tuning orbs are complete and utter bullshit and should not be in the game, or should be very much easier to get. I'm sure they're probably going to talk about the lockout of them too, but we're almost there, boys. We're getting there.
It's going to take a little while, but that's sort of where we want to go in the future.
Yeah, that's great news. I know the forums
Hurry the
are
fuck
constantly
up.
talking about the orbs. We hear you guys.
Hurry
wanting to
the
remove them, wanting to
up.
change things. So hearing that this is something that you guys are taking.
Oh, tuning orbs are
seriously is
such
a really
complete
important thing,
dog
and
shit.
hopefully that will reassure the players that we are listening and we're constantly working on reducing that friction when it comes to any sort of content.
Nice.
All right, thank you
I
so
will very
guys.
much enjoy that. All right, let's continue. Upcoming events.
All right, guys, so we're going to dive into the upcoming events. So, well, let me first actually introduce this great bunch of people that...
Notice how the only one that's not wearing a New World shirt is the only dev that has been fucking up since the very fucking beginning.
We have with us, we have Phil Bolus, we have Mike Willett, and we have
Terrible.
Katie Kaczynski, and like I said,
Katie
we're gonna go into
Kaczynski.
some of the upcoming events. So guys, take it. What are we doing with the upcoming events? What's going on?
Well, let's talk about a current event that we've got going on right now. So if you remember on March 9th,
There's an event going on right
we
now?
kicked off a big event where we gave viewers on Twitch a preview of our Tempest's Heart lair and our very own.
Are you talking about the Twitch drops that are going on right now? Because that's not an event. Twitch drops are not an event. Twitch drops are just, here's content. Here's a skin. Watch a streamer that we encourage you to watch, or any streamer you want to. That's not an event.
Mike Willett ran a dungeon very successfully, potentially, with some.
Let's just say it was great.
Katie is laughing her ass off
Yeah, no
right
problem.
now.
They're great carries, weren't they, Mike?
Absolutely.
The best.
The best.
And with that event, though, we also rolled out an amazingly awesome drop that's still going on right now. Right now, viewers watching New World can earn what we're calling the Indigo.
That is not an event. Twitch drops are not an event. Twitch drops are a skin that you just said, here, have for free. All you gotta do is watch a streamer for a few hours. It's not an event. It has nothing to do with the game. Nothing's going on in the game. You just get a skin for watching somebody on Twitch. That's not an event. Am I wrong on that, or I don't know.
Eyes. and they're flaming, fiery eyes.
So cool.
Very cool.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it is cool. It's
that they
pink
can
though.
earn. It's an exclusive Twitch drop, and that's happening. It's going to be running through March 21st.
Not an event.
Leading right up to our big March release.
Okay, and I mean that's
Did I just hear a March 21st date? Leading up to our big release. March 21st? Confirm? What is March 21st? Is March 21st a Tuesday by any chance? March 21st is a Monday. March 22nd? Question mark?
I mean, I don't think we've had anything to do with eyes yet.
We
so
might
that'll be
have
the first one.
we might
So
have a
that's
leaked
really
date there if you
exciting.
actually put the
Along
puzzle
with
pieces
events,
together.
What else have we added into the world with things like that?
Oh, there's a bunch of new stuff that went into the world that we're pretty excited about. One of the first things that we added was a brand new set of collectibles that we're calling Vista Views. So these are world paintings. There's 2 easels per zone that are discoverable that are placed out there. So as you search around and looking for awesome views, you might find one of these easels, and then you can procure a painting. And those paintings can be placed into your house and just kind of like showcase. So it's kind of like this cool little thing that you could just earn a place in your
That's
house.
awesome.
And there's 2 per zone, and if you happen to lose.
My question on this, and I've actually been asking this for quite some time on Twitter now. What are the tier level of the painting? Because if it's only a tier 1 painting, or a tier 2 painting even, really, no one's going to hang that shit in their house. They got way higher tier furniture in that house, and they're probably full on items. If these paintings are not worth it in points to replace something in your house that's higher point value, what the fuck is the point in them? No one's going to hang them in their house if they're not a high point value. Let's be fucking honest here.
One of your paintings for whatever reason, 24 hours later, you can go back to the same spot and pick that up. In addition to that, we've added a loot goblin of sorts that just roams around.
Now this is
all
going to be
over.
cool.
Its name is Raffle Bones, and just basically collects all the stuff from everywhere.
This is going to be cool as shit.
Golden character that just roams about, and if you can defeat Raffle Bones before Raffle Bones decides to destroy itself, you get to collect some really cool items. So usually Raffle Bones is leveled to the level of the zone, but regardless, if you catch Raffle Bones, you get a cool piece of gear to your level or to that zone, but you also get a gypsum orb, and if you defeat a level 60 Raffle Bones, then you can actually get, I think it's 500 Umbral Shards.
It's a big Umbral Shard reward for actually finding and putting him down before he poofs out of there. So yeah, so keep an eye out for old Raffle Bones. Yeah.
That should be fun. That should be interesting.
Leaving Winter Convergence, some of the Yetis forgot to, get the memo, and they were supposed to take off. So there's still some roaming Yetis that exist in Great Cleave, and so you can defeat them.
Just read the patch notes word for word. Why don't you?
We also did some big updates into the lower levels of the world as well. So Unbound Island and Cutlass Keys got a major upgrade, so go see Boatswain Benjamin there.
All of these are for mid-level 30 players, by the way.
As well as Weaver's Spend, we've added...
I believe it's all level mid-30, I'm pretty sure.
This is a new,
the only one that's
roaming
above
NPC.
60 right now is the Raffle Bones.
So you can try to find and discover Stinky around your mid-30s.
Everything else is around mid-30.
Named drops that are pretty exciting.
Oh,
So
okay.
Which is
good gear to go out.
Which is good, because if you really think about it, from the leveling process, where did you slow down the most? Between 25 and 35. Between 25, 35, and 45 is the biggest slowdown in the leveling process there is, because there's just nothing to do. It's all quests and shit and side missions and stuff like that. There's nothing to do at that level. That's the most gray area level in the leveling process. And then the 50s, of course, but the 50s are the 50s.
After, if you're just getting started and you're on your way to Weavers.
The return of Stinky.
The
Yes,
return
the
of
return of
Stinky.
Stinky. I mean, we've
No longer
encountered
in
his
the outhouse.
Yes, we've encountered his shack, and I've always been curious about Stinky.
It's upgraded fully.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
we've gone from outhouse to slightly bigger than outhouse.
Excellent news.
Excellent news. Also in Weaver's Bend and Restless Shores, we've added dynamic roadside encounters, so you can just see random enemies working on stuff or planning things or roaming about. So those are interesting new adds.
Again, level 30 players.
Is the latest
I mean,
addition
level
to
60
that
players
we've
can
done
do it,
another
but
upgrade on for that
why?
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
All
mean,
right.
those-
So
Mostly to
there-
help out the
I
drogginess
was
of the
confused.
leveling
I was
process.
not expecting that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, did you have like one thing or two things?
Yeah,
And
that's
it was
along with all of our normal
whole
bug fixing.
list.
When we dig into the zones, we're like, oh, we see opportunities to add like, you know, just more dynamic moments or just add a lot more, you know, variety. So we're taking that to heart.
Right.
And we know our players want more.
You know, I kind of want a New World
And
shirt
I
now.
love to see the return of the infamous Stinky in such a celebratory way. That's so cool.
What brought on the
Yeah.
decision to bring him back?
You know what? It was unfortunate that there was a bug associated with Stinky originally, like a long time ago, where you could just generate a ton of Stinkies by interacting with this outhouse. That actually sounds wrong when you say it out loud. I was going to say, but we love the idea, so that's why it had to make a comeback.
Stinky essentially made an impression on us, and probably the people who were a part of the Stinky bug, as we so lovingly refer to it on the team. But yeah, we came in game, and Stinky was bringing down the servers because people were spawning
so many
Stinkies. It was insane. But then we fixed the Stinky bug, and Stinky no longer appears there. So this return of
bringing back
Stinky.
Stinky.
Now it came
Let's
back.
see if people can spawn
Alright.
1,000 of them
Stinky
again.
might be lingering a little too long, so we'll move along. But you know, check it out if you go to Weavers.
Well, that is definitely good to know. And I love collectibles. I love the little things that you just stumble upon and you got to tell your friends and have them.
Are they going to be blues or are they going to be epics? Because these are level 30s. Does level 30 even have epics? Because if they're blue weapons, I mean, even if they're named weapons, if they're blue and they only have 2 perks, they're useless. A blue weapon with 2 perks is not going to do any more damage than a purple weapon with 2 perks. And purple weapons might actually be better. So I'm kind of hoping that they know that and they're like, well, you know, kind of need to make this shit, you know, a little bit worth it.
Them come join. Now, with friends being on other regions, can we talk a little bit about the region transfers?
Sure. So it's not ready yet as of the time of this filming, but we've been working very, very hard on it. It's currently in testing, but we will let folks know as soon as it is ready. But cross-region transfers is on the very soon trademark horizon. Horizon. No, we've heard players. We know that they want that possibility. We know that it launched. Some people chose regions that they thought they were going to be able to move, and that they weren't able to. So we're making that a possibility, and it is coming out soon. And they should stay tuned to the forums and Twitter because our social media and community managers are going to be announcing that. So.
Yep. And when that comes out, it will be accessible through the shop. And players can access it there and then choose to go wherever they need to go.
Yeah, very similar to the transfer tokens as far as where it is.
Right. So this gives people a little heads up. Start doing your homework and figuring out where you and your friends want to go. So, all right, that's great to know. And then now that hopefully we're getting also more new people with adding the friends, we want to talk about Double XP Weekend. That was another thing that you guys came up with.
Definitely.
What?
So shortly after we launch the March build, we're going to be rolling out a double XP weekend, and that's for player XP. So players who might not be at max level yet or returning to the game can come in and for a weekend.
Oh, okay.
About 3 days we'll probably be running for. They'll be able to earn twice as much.
Okay. No,
character
that
XP.
actually that makes a ton and a shit ton of sense. For one reason, well, actually for 2 reasons really, but for one reason in particular, the second reason's kind of tied into the first, but they're releasing a brand new content onto the live servers, which means that they're expecting, I would say, probably about 1/3 of the player base that went away to come back. But they're also saying, well, you know, we're adding new content to the game. We should probably make sure everyone is able to do this content in a timely manner. Meaning, anyone who isn't 60 yet, basically now you're going to be able to hit 60 in like a few days. Because double XP, oh, y'all going to be fucking rocketing up 50. And they're adding all kinds of stuff to do at level 30 too, so y'all just going to be rocketing.
As they would for doing anything that generates that in the game.
Okay.
Oh
quick
yeah,
note,
that's a
as level
fantastic
60,
idea. I didn't like it at first because I didn't know about it, but that's actually a good idea. That's great.
I know that is the
Well, as a
burying
level
of
17,
a lead.
you know, it's very important.
Okay, get Phil out of here. So, no, isn't there something for me though?
Of course,
Yeah.
yes, you're right, you're right. Also, not just with character XP, but we're releasing the blunderbuss weapon, right, with this release? And therefore, in that same weekend, we're going to be also doing a double weapon mastery XP for the blunderbuss.
Oh,
So
just for
all players,
blunderbuss?
not just the 60s, but also the 60s, can earn twice as much weapon mastery with the blunderbuss anytime they're using it in combat. So it'll help you, level up some of the early skills, unlock a few skills.
I thought it was gonna be for all weapons.
Maybe, I don't know, twice as fast.
I think that's what double means. So yes.
Yeah, agreed.
Twice.
Anyway.
All right, well, that's great to know that both the 17s and the 60s will get a little bit of action, so I appreciate that, guys.
And the level 30 players are in Cutlass Keys going to Unbound Island and see Boatswain Benjamin.
Yeah.
You really have a thing for Benjamin, don't you?
He's
And that's the thing, though. That's probably going to give you a lot of XP, and plus it's going to be a double XP event. Like, oh, yeah. Granted, all level 60 players ain't really going to be
now we have a group of amazing people here that you have not met before. This is the player support, or part of the player support team. So I want to introduce Rachel Barnum and Brad Wilcox, and then Katie is also here to join us as a little fun topic.
I know a little bit.
Fun topic.
I know a little bit about how to fuck up patch notes every single time. I know a little bit. I know a little bit about how to fuck up community engagement. I know a little bit. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel about this one.
Topic of player support and moderation. So, I mean, let's dive right into it.
He has been fucking shit up on patch notes since day one. She has been fucking up community engagement since day one. Granted, she hasn't done anything severe yet, but you can only chip away at a rock so much before it falls apart.
Guys, how does moderation work? What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So when players make reports in games, we have a moderation system that they go into. Depending on the severity, depending on some other factors, eventually they can be turned into a case against that player. We have real-life moderators that take a look at that case, and they determine based on the information from those player reports. They might go hang out in your chat logs, see what else has been going on, and based on your past history with penalties, they'll go ahead and make a decision on whether or not to penalize you and how severe that penalty will be. For those penalties, we do also have a peer review process, and we have an auditing process as well.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit how fast the turnaround?
Background story, just a tad bit, and I don't want to make this too long because we still got like 20 more minutes of this video, but I actually got somebody chat banned for like 48 hours. I don't know how long it was. It was on my old server, not on Pluto. But I actually got somebody chat banned because they called me out in the syndicate chat personally and told me to switch to green or do whatever the F I wanted to do, and told me to stay the F out of their wars and stay the F out of their invasions, and I got that person banned for 48 hours. So they do look at the I don't know, it took like 2 or 3 days for him to get banned, but yeah, they don't play around when it comes to like in-game bullying. They do not play around with that shit. They will ban you from chatting.
Is with these processes?
Yeah, sure. So we work towards an SLA, or we try to have all player reports at least looked at within 3 hours. Now this can vary based on the volume that we get. And also different reports are maybe categorized a little bit different, and some are responded to or viewed much quicker than others. But ultimately we look and do a good job at getting everything looked at within 3 hours.
Okay, that's awesome. That's great to know. And I know the question players are constantly asking, guys, is bots. How many bots have been banned?
So good question, and yeah, I think that seems to be a common question that everyone wants to know. You know, you need to know that we are banning bots constantly. It's 24/7, and
Bull-ing shit. Bull shit. I'm sorry, but that is absolute bullshit. I have reported bots the way that they tell you to report bots multiple times from the same exact area, because they're like, oh, we get area approximation when you report a player at a certain area of the game, and you put in the comments like, you know, farming star metal or whatever, and then they look at that report and they see if you're actually near star metal ores. That, what he just said, is complete and utter bullshit. Bullshit. Absolute and complete and utter bullshit. I'm sorry, but that is complete and utter bullshit. I have reported bots on Pyralis. I have reported bots on Pluto multiple times every day from the same fucking location every single fucking time. This bot literally goes around the world in a fucking circle. And you're telling me that you find these bots and ban them in 3 hours? Absolute bullshit.
It's very safe to say that over the last few months, we have banned tens of thousands of bots.
Okay.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Not on my server you have it, and I'm on the most populated US East server there is. I'm on US East Pluto. US East Pluto is the highest populated US East server currently and has been for the last fucking week. And still has the same exact bots that it had on day 1 of me joining that server. Still doing the same shit, and I've reported these bots daily. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. That man is speaking nothing but lies. I'm sorry, but there is no fucking way that you ever banned tens of thousands of bots. So you have said tens of thousands of bots when I've been on US East Pluto for 3 weeks, if not more. I might have been on there for more than that. We've been on US East Pluto for probably about a month, and it's had the same exact bots every single day. Every day it has the same exact bots roaming the world in the same exact location. I'm on the most populated US East server. Bullshit. Bullshit. Stop your lying, because what this man said right now is complete and utter bullshit.
Well, in addition to that, we also, the dev team with our player support team, we've done some actual, like, you know, GM in-game actions against bots. So you've probably seen some folks asking in chat, hey, anybody got eyes on a bot? We have like locations that we've looked at that we're aware of.
Again, I'm on the most populated US East server there is. I have never seen them ask in chat if there was a bot. I have never seen a dev in my game searching for bots. Ever. The reason why I'm not playing the game right now and I'm on PTR is because I can't farm star metal because there's too many bots. The bots are taking all of my star metal and all of my ore. Bullshit. Stop your lying.
Like when they report in game and they say there was a bot in this location, we see the location in the report and we
Bullshit.
tag that, and that's what we've been using.
I report bots on US East Pluto, and I reported bots on US East Pyralis every day. Every day. I report the same bots if I see them every single day. Bullshit.
in addition to just where we've seen bots
Right,
ourselves.
right.
So we have been doing that as kind of an additional action on top of this for those bots that, we've heard folks say, like they've seen
I've
the
heard
same bot
nothing
in
but
game for a
bullshit this
while,
entire
right?
segment.
Because they don't fall into any particular
I have
pattern
heard
that we've seen.
nothing but
So
complete
it's
and utter
extremely
bullshit
helpful
this
getting,
entire segment.
getting those bots and people in game to ban them. So
Yeah, it's very satisfying when you're like,
oh, we were all on a call. We're like, got one, got him, we got this, and everybody was like, God, yeah, so amazing. And then one guy was like, I haven't gotten one, guys.
Aw. Well, that brings up a good question then too. How does player support determine that a bot is a bot and not a player?
Yeah, so like Katie mentioned one
Oh, we're
part.
back to the
before I
liar
kinda
again.
Go into that. There's some systematic ways that we determine this too. So we have systems that actually are detecting bot type, cheat type software. And those are the easy ones because it immediately is detected on the PC.
So you're telling me that a bot has been doing this for months? Because I've literally seen the same exact bots on Pluto every single day. They go from one ore to the next. Whether or not it's down or not, they go up to that ore and they stand there for a couple seconds and then they move on to the next ore. You know what that's doing? Software. It's software that walks up to an ore and presses E. And if that ore is not there, it moves on to the next one. It's called cheating software. They have been doing this for months. This guy has literally spoken nothing but lies the entire fucking time he has been on here.
We know that it's running, and so those will automatically be banned right away. The second thing
Bullshit.
that's more of a systematic thing is we have telemetry and analytics that basically are looking for outliers in normal player behavior. And that then creates these reports, not just player reports, but other reports that can be investigated. The third way is the player reports. That's where we get all of the help from the community, and we really appreciate it because it does allow us to double check those systematic reports, but then also takes us to the fourth thing, which Katie just mentioned, and we have game masters, admins, whatever you want to call it, in game, looking at those player reports and validating the reports that we get. And it is satisfying. It is a lot of fun. And I like to see it. I don't know if players know this, but when someone is banned, they actually, it looks kind of like their log off type sequence. So they lay down and go to sleep. And we know it's a permanent sleep.
And they don't wake up.
Oh, this just got dark.
They're done.
Oh, bye-bye. Well, what if
They need to
somebody
be
would
on
like to
USC's
appeal?
Pluto.
What is the appeal process?
Yeah, so whether it's player reports or maybe you got caught up in the bot system, which maybe you shouldn't be appealing for that one, but that's okay. But yeah, if you get caught up in the player reports, you feel like your penalty or ban is unjustified, you can reach out on our support site. All of those appeals go to one of our more advanced moderation teams.
This is literally the only one that hasn't spoken a single lie yet, is this female right here.
Especially in the case of
At least I don't think she
usually did
has.
get caught up in the bots. Maybe you just really like fishing. I don't know. Those issues do get escalated to us, and so us on the game team do take a look at those appeals, and we'll go through your history and everything. So those appeals are taken very seriously.
Okay. I remember some of the wars, would happen and all of a sudden people would be screaming, oh, we got mass reported, or that group got mass reported. Can you go into a little bit more detail about that situation, about mass reporting? Is it a thing? Is it not a thing? How does that work?
Yeah, so it is a thing. Yeah, and unfortunately, there are bad actors, and especially can happen in company PvP type situations where players will mass report other players and try to troll them, get them kicked out of the game. We have a very hard and fast rule that the number of reports doesn't matter. What really matters is the context behind those reports. A lot of context is passed on with the reports, the location, chat messages, all of the player information. So that shouldn't be an issue. It never should be an issue. But mistakes happen, and it has happened before, where someone's just like, they got reported, it must happen. But we really do have standard operating procedure to look at the context, to make sure that there is proof. The moderation process, if it can't be seen and it can't be found, they need to look into it and do a deeper dive and look for additional context to see if they can really do that. The last thing is too, that just to add to that is, if players are doing that, if they're mass reporting someone and trolling them and trying to get out of the game, that's a violation of the code of conduct as well. And we will and do take actions which could put them for that permanent sleep.
Yeah, so if you're planning on mass reporting for a nefarious purpose and not because somebody legitimately has broken the code of conduct or terms of use, you can expect to
ban yourself,
maybe
motherfucker.
get a little penalty there.
Yeah.
You're gonna be banned yourself,
I guess my last
bitch.
question is just in general, what is the best way to report stuff? Is it in-game? Is it
We don't go
forums?
over
Like,
this every month.
Where's the most helpful for you? And also, too, when people report,
Forums and
should they
in-game
really go in,
reports.
you know, I know you get like the little box usually, or the check boxes of what is going on. Should they explain more? Is it worth their time to explain more? What helps you guys the best do your job?
Definitely in game. That way it can go straight into our moderation system. That's the fastest way that it's going to be looked at. If you put it in the forums, we're probably going to take it down because we don't want to build on, you know, we don't need,
that's
you
a
know,
good,
backwards
especially
harassment,
with
I
like
guess.
exploits, I guess. You don't want exploits
we
sitting
don't
on
want
the
exploits on
forums.
forums. If you do see exploits, for example, sending those up through customer service is very helpful as well. But any in-game issues with players, please report them. Definitely the fastest way you're going to get that looked at.
We also do have a way that you can report outside of the game as well, but in-game is for sure the best way to go. Outside of the game, you could maybe include some additional information, like if you were reporting bots, you could include maybe a link to a VOD or something like that that's been recorded. But the quickest, fastest, and most simplest way is to report it in-game.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
But
You guys
doesn't
have
do anything.
very clearly answered all my questions, and I really appreciate
Because
you
we
joining us.
still
Thank you.
have bots rolling around on the most populated server.
All right, guys. So I spent a lot of time on the forums, Reddit, Discord, and it's constantly thrown to me that we're giving you feedback. You should listen to feedback. And we're giving you questions. Why can't our questions be answered by devs? Well, great news, guys. I gathered some of the most important questions that are asked across the board, and we're now throwing them in front of the devs. And let's start with Phil. Can you tell us a little bit more about the economy after all the server merges?
Yeah, definitely.
Seems pretty good right now.
What we saw after a lot of the recent server merges and transfers, it was a big boon to a lot of our worlds out there that are a lot more full, a lot more engaging. The trade posts in those worlds, I think, are really active, and the resource generation and everything that players are doing on the fuller worlds is just it's making the game feel really alive in these spots. I think on some of the lower population ones, it has had a bit of a negative impact to the economy. And so in those instances, we are, taking a look at the size of the population in those worlds, and potentially, we may take
Merge
other
them.
actions there, like server merges. Also, we're going to be introducing paid server transfers, though, and not just, giving massive amounts of free server transfers out.
Did you just say paid server transfers? Instead of free, or as an addition to free?
The players. So when they do transfer, it'll be a really intentional transfer. So we shouldn't be seeing big swaths of the population, pulling stakes in a given world.
Okay.
I just want to add on to that, I think that it's important to call out that we are not planning to do any more free mass tokens to the players. We're not planning to do that again. And so we need to see how things are, to put it one way, how they shake out in the world. And then we're always considering future merges. So future server merges when we see a population.
So they are no longer planning on giving out server transfers for free. Huh. So all those people who are stuck on a server like Pyralis now, who have less than 50 people on pretty much all night overnight. So y'all ain't A, gonna be able to get anything done, ever. And B, you can't even transfer off for free. You gotta pay for it. Damn, that's just...
It's unhealthy. or we see that the character count on a world has gone below a certain threshold,
Wow.
then we'll look at that and we'll merge those. And we'll, of course, give the community a heads up through forums and then also in-game.
You need to merge every single US East server other than Pluto.
Okay, yeah, that's
Really?
definitely great. I think people are always concerned about their world.
Or move them
you
into
know,
Pluto,
and
but I
how
think
we're
even
kind
that
of
would be a
affecting
bad
it. So
idea
that's
at this
good to
point.
know, and now people have a little bit more control over things. Scott, especially, you wanted me to ask this. You saw Asmongold had asked this and wants an answer from you about the Azoth system. Do you think it had a positive effect in the game, or how do you feel?
Uh-oh.
No, in truth,
Called
it
out.
hasn't, you know, and it's a bummer because first off, we don't get everything right on the first try. But the reason it's a bummer to me is I love the concept of Azoth. This mineral that flows below Eternum, that people think it has magical properties. And it felt so cool tying that to fast traveling through the world and to, amplifying your weapons through perks and stuff. However, the way it came through in gameplay was more of like a constraint than a currency of cool or fun. And for that, it's a bummer, but it did not work out the way we wanted. That said, the takeaway is we listened, we learned, and we're improving it. It's fixed, and it's a lot better now. And the behavior I hope we start to see is that players are using that more and more in the crafting side to amplify their gear and to really start driving their gear in the direction they want it to go.
Right.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's great to
Because
know. And also,
before, you had to pretty much make a decision on whether or not you wanted to fast travel around the world in a Zerg. Basically, because back then it cost 300-400 days off to go to one area. So you had to decide whether or not you wanted to craft or you wanted to world Zerg. And you couldn't do both, really, if you really thought about it, unless you were doing wars and invasions and everything else that gave you Azoth that night. You really couldn't do both. You had to choose which one you wanted to do. Did you want to craft with Azoth or did you want to travel with Azoth? Now, really, it's not even a question. It costs 20 Azoth to fast travel anywhere in the world, no matter what. No matter what your weight is, no matter where you are, to what location, A, B, it is 20 Azoth, no matter what. Now, because the cap is still 1,000, you can basically do a world Zerg and then go spend whatever Azoth you got left on crafting. Now you can do both.
So yes, we do watch a lot of content creators and take that all into consideration with these questions. I guess, Katie, especially now, when we did do the server merges before, some of the servers have been locked, some unlocked. What's going on with that? Are there plans to lock more? Bring us into that.
So we don't have any plans to preemptively lock any servers. We said in February that we were preemptively locking some servers in anticipation of the token going live. We don't have plans to do that ever again, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
But yet 2 servers right now on, actually I think one of them is EU, I think, and then the other one I believe is in the West Coast, are locked. And actually I think Pluto is actually locked right now too, I believe. So why are they locked? Can't create characters and you can't transfer to it. But yet you don't plan on locking servers anymore. But yet you still have 3 servers that are locked.
That could change, but as far as like right now, we have absolutely no plans to preemptively lock servers. However, we do have a system in place where once a world reaches a certain threshold of individual characters, of population, and a couple other metrics, it will automatically lock. That will sometimes, unfortunately, happen when a company is moving over.
The problem with that, I get the system. I understand why it's in place. It's in place so that way people don't get queues. I get it. But the problem with that is you're allowing all the... And Pluto's probably going to hit it once they actually release content. But when they release major content, like the next major like paid expansion that they release... The problem with that is all of those worlds that had like nobody in them are going to be fine. But all the worlds that everybody went to are going to have queues out the fucking ass. And we already know that. That's going to be the only problem with that. So I don't know.
So that has been an unfortunate side effect, but it's to protect people that are on the players that are on those worlds. Because last thing we want is for our March update to go live, and then they're sitting in queues that are 12 hours long. And
March update is not going to bring that many people back. I'm sorry to tell you, it's really not. You're releasing a single expansion, and it's not even an expansion; it's an expedition, and that's it. That's all you're releasing is an expedition and a story mission. That's it. This is not paid. This is not an expansion. This is an update that is bringing one new content piece to the game. We are not gonna, well, Pluto might, but all these low population servers are not gonna get queues. This is not gonna bring a ton of people back to the game. It might, but I doubt it. What's gonna bring a bunch of people back to this game is when they open up a new area. When they open up a new area beyond Shattered Mountain or beyond Ebon Scale or, beyond one of the end areas before you can no longer go any farther. Those are going to be the areas that they release first, obviously. Once they release those areas, that's when people are going to flock back to this game. We are not going to get 12-hour queues because you released a single dungeon after 6 months of no content.
So we're trying our best to mitigate that. Again, why we're not going to do another free server transfer token. We saw what happened. We understand. We looked at those metrics and we decided that was absolutely not something that we wanted to fall into again. So we will not be making that mistake. Hopefully this age as well. So we will not be making that mistake again.
I mean, you guys are, even what we've answered so far is you guys are taking feedback. You are making changes. You are adjusting things. If that doesn't go that great, you guys are looking at other options.
Absolutely. And we are looking again at the worlds to see, as we mentioned, we're looking at those worlds and we're deciding which ones need to be merged further, right? So that's going to be a constant exercise that we're going to be doing. It's not like a one and done. And then that's also why the transfer tokens going into the shop are really key, because then it's not going to be thousands of people transferring at the same time. There's going to be a little bit more friction there so that we can keep a better eye on it. And so that people make good decisions and we provide them that information to make good decisions. So it's all looking up from here as far as merges and the tokens go. We figured it out and we're making really positive changes there.
Okay, great.
Looking up from here, well, you're pretty fucking low right now.
Servers, I want to talk a little bit more about.
Can only really go up from here, to be honest.
Is that something that we're looking into?
Yeah, absolutely. The idea of joining people on different servers to do expeditions, outpost rush. At some point, we'll have more casual versions of war and invasion.
Hold on.
Be a little bit more friction there so that we can keep a better eye on it. And so that people make good decisions and we provide them that information to make good decisions.
I don't really want to listen to Katie again.
With all these transfers going on between servers, I want to talk a little bit more about, activities between servers. Is that something that we're looking into?
Yeah, absolutely. The idea of joining people on different servers to do expeditions, outpost rush. At some point, we'll have more casual versions of war and invasion. I think that is something we totally aspire to, and I think it would be really cool. It's always fun, socially connecting with people in different parts of the world and stuff.
Yeah, that's a whole reason of having an MMO, right? Is being able to play with other people. Who would have thought?
Hey, who didn't know
that? The smaller servers that are having issues finding enough people for stuff.
Oh, that reminds me. They didn't realize this game was not supposed to be an MMO. You got to realize that. For anyone who does not know the history of this game was not meant to be an MMO. This game was meant to be a survival PvP game. This game was in alpha, was a survival PvP game. None of this corrupted shit was here. None of the ancient shit was here. None of that bullshit was there. The world was there, but the enemies weren't. This game was a survival PvP game in alpha. This game is now launched as an MMO. You gotta realize, a lot of the systems that they had in place when this game launched were systems for a survival PvP game, which this game no longer is. And they realize that now. That's why a lot of the systems felt like friction. Because in a survival PvP game, that's what makes the game. Friction. Friction is what makes survival PvP. So that's why this game had so much friction, because this game was not meant to be an MMO, but it became an MMO because of the fact that they added so much PvE to the game, which the game never had in alpha. And now this game is 100% completely different than the vision that they had from the beginning. So now they have to basically learn how to develop an MMO on the fly rather than developing a game, essentially. Now they have to figure out how to transfer their game from a survival PvP game, which failed, to an MMO game, which is succeeding. Was succeeding. No, not really succeeding too much anymore, but, you know. But that's basically what they're saying right now, is we did not anticipate this game to be a MMO. This game was never meant to be an MMO, but it became an MMO. And they like that. They like the system of the MMO, which is why they're getting rid of friction.
You know, hopefully they'll have.
Right. I mean, it's a topic that comes up a bunch internally, and we discuss it, and we are actively looking into, how we pull it off and do it the right way. And so we definitely want to make sure that
correct.
people are able to get together and play and experience all of our cool instance content.
Yeah, the tech is challenging, though, so it's not something we can, say is going to happen tomorrow or next month, or it's probably not going to show up on the roadmap, but it's something we're working at. And it's one of those things you don't really want to put on a committed roadmap. It's you want to work until you get it right. It feels really good, and then we'll just put it out.
Yeah, for sure. I think I read a lot, players are like, hey, as long as we know what's going on, and take.
Speaking of which, where the fuck is that roadmap? Oh, it's at the end. Okay.
Your time and make sure it's done right. So, it's nice to hear that. Something like that.
Probably like the last 20 minutes is the roadmap.
Caught in limbo between two servers or
Definitely something we don't want to get wrong, right? So,
yeah. So a few of the things that we have touched on, not even a few, a lot of things have been changes because of players' feedback, right? But on top of that, are there any things that really come to mind that have been completely changed due to players' feedback or adjusted at all?
Yeah, I actually have a very clear memory from early, right after we launched, where we had a lot of players asking for inventory while running. And I went to our meeting and I was like, hey, everybody's asking for this. Can we make it happen? And everybody was like, yeah, let's make it happen.
We all wanted it too.
We all wanted it. We all want.
You know why? Because it's super easy. All it is a coding. Literally, they just have to delete the coding that stops you in your place. That's literally all they had to do. I'm not a game developer. I don't know about game development. I don't know about anything like that. But basically, what they did was they took the coding. When you open your inventory while running, stops you in your place. They took that coding out of the game. That's all they did. They didn't change nothing. They didn't add nothing. All they did was take the coding of stopping you in your place when you open inventory while running out of the game. It's literally all they did.
Wanted it, but that was something that the movement on that was definitely increased because players were like, this will be such a huge quality of life improvement for us.
The only thing that they added was the in-combat system, and that's because they had to. If they didn't add that in-combat system, PvP would have been completely fucked.
It's gonna be.
It's coming.
So yes, the in-combat system they did add to the game, correct.
About reducing friction, that's an initiative inside in the office that we follow, and it's constantly going. We have another concept, C2C we call it. It's concept to customer. And so when the player talks about something that they don't like, we immediately okay, can we turn this around fast? What can we do? How do we address this? Like there's more features that are in response to what players are asking for than on the other side of that equation.
Yeah, just like things that we've done recently in the last few months regarding taxes, access to expedition orbs, all sorts of things, like, making sure that players have more access to those things, that we've reduced the cost of housing taxes greatly. The fast travel costs with the Azov that we talked about
Yeah,
earlier.
exactly.
That's a
that was
great
like the
example.
start of this.
Yeah.
Was
That was
we
directly,
listened
yeah.
directly to what you said, and we agree, and we're making changes based on that. So our players have a big voice in those design meetings.
And we're listening too. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally happy to hear that too, because I spend my days, combing through the forums and gathering it all on a list, so it's nice to know that, yes, it is being heard and used and going from there.
Let me just add real quick, now that we're out of that launch window, that's why, like if you're noticing in the patch notes, they're doing a lot more than they were 3 months ago or 2 months ago, because we've kind of got our head above water now, and we're back in that cycle we want to get in that we had in the alpha, where we're turning things around really quickly based on.
No longer a PvP survival game, so we took survival out of the game. It's basically what he just said. We understand that this game was completely different from what we expected at launch. Completely different. We are now out of the window from where we have a lot of those survival PvP frictions out of the game, and now we have our head above water. Now we can finally start improving shit. Instead of fixing shit, now we can improve shit, is basically what he just said.
Player feedback.
I mean, that's great. I mean, now we've talked a lot about PvE, and I could already hear the PvP players being like, what about us? What are the plans to focus on PvP in the future?
Right. In our spring season, we're going to be introducing some majorly cool features for PvP players.
Wait, I got a roadmap coming out.
Oh, yeah?
Next, we're going to be talking about that in a minute. I don't know if you want to.
Am I spoiling?
Okay, go ahead and spoil.
Okay. Small spoiler for the roadmap segment. But in our spring season, we're rolling out PvP-focused arenas. That'll be 3v3 PvP arenas. And on top of that,
there you go.
A whole PvP rewards track where players can just earn PvP-specific XP and currency by doing any kind of PvP action in the game. And then that would unlock access to really exclusive, prestigious PvP rewards. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because they deserve
emphasis
some love
on
too.
PvP, boys.
That's great to hear. Honestly,
hot damn, it's about time.
Of a PvP sort of thing to focus on, because
the vision hasn't changed.
I'm not much of a PvP person myself. I'm really not, and I don't claim to be. But from what I see, 90% of the PvP in this game right now is either wars or just open world PvP that you guys just put together. So I'm really happy that y'all PvP heads are getting an arena to where y'all can go ahead and do y'all shit in a private little fucking instance of y'all own. I'm happy for you. I am. I'm no sarcasm. I'm actually happy for you guys.
For the game.
Yeah,
right?
everyone gets love, right?
I'm sure I'll try it. Yeah, I'm sure I'll try it, but it's definitely not going to be my emphasis. That's for sure.
They don't just coexist; they complement each other, and we're supporting both. And PvP and PvE both are very important to the future of the world.
Okay. And I mean, just to kind of follow up on that with cooldowns, can we talk a little bit more on? I know.
Look at him laugh.
Another thing that comes from listening.
He's like, you had to bring it up, didn't you, bitch? You just had to bring it up, didn't you? That's that smile. He was like, you just had to bring it up.
Yes. Well, the good news is that Scott's going to be able to delete his spreadsheet that he uses to track all of his
just had to bring it up, didn't you?
Cooldowns in the game. So that'll be good. Because we're introducing global cooldowns. So now everything that's on cooldown, depending on the length of time of the cooldown in terms of days or week, it'll reset at a consistent time for players in their time zone.
Please, and I hope he says this after I say it, but I want to get this in before he says it, because please include elite supply chests in this cooldown. Please introduce a universal cooldown timer for elite chests. Please to God.
Whenever it's ready. So let's just say I've got a daily crafting cooldown. Now that's going to
have crafting cooldowns. Well, kind of we do, but we care more about refining cooldowns.
Set at 5 a.m. every day. So 5 a.m. my time every day, that'll reset. If I've got something that's more on a weekly timer, those will roll over on Tuesdays at 5 a.m. So 5 a.m. is kind of the time where we see really light engagement, and it's a good time just to like get people just to like roll it over. So the next session you join in the game, you're ready to go again.
So technically, he doesn't have to delete his spreadsheet, but it is greatly reduced because
Sure.
he still has weekly cooldowns.
But it is nice that if you play at 9 o'clock one night and you do a bunch of stuff, and then the next day you're free at 6, you're not kind of like, oh, what do I do now? So now you can immediately go hit them all.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could definitely plan your play style a bit more around those cooldowns.
Yeah, so like elite chess, crafting, earning bonuses from like faction missions, those types of things. Yeah. Those will all be now consistent.
We got there, boys! No more 24 hours after you loot the chest does it cool down. It is a fucking universal cooldown. Thank God! We made it! We made it! We finally made it to the end of the tunnel, and we are there. Universal cooldown on elite chests. Thank fucking God.
Rolling over
Right.
day over day.
And as we said,
And I know
before,
I'm not
sure
alone in
we'll
that
listen
one.
to player
That shit's a
feedback and
bitch.
see,
Oh,
you know,
God, I
how they
hate that
like
shit.
that and what's going on with that. But I mean,
Oh, fuck, man. I did mines at this time yesterday. I did Mal at this time yesterday. I did this at this time yesterday. Well, everybody's doing this. Well, my cooldown for that doesn't reset until like 10 p.m.-ish. I don't know. My reset for this, I did this first, so it's got to reset around 7 p.m., right? Somewhere around there. Fuck that. I hate doing that shit. God, that shit's gone. God damn.
that's it for the major questions that I have from the community. Is there anything else that you guys would like to add? Anything else?
Keep the feedback coming. We appreciate it. Not just where we have room for improvement, but if you have
We made
big
it, boys.
ideas, that you want to see
We
us
made it.
implement and you are just so excited about that, put it in the forums. We read that all the time, and we really appreciate the big ideas that our players have.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, guys, and I really appreciate it. We're going to go on to the next section.
Roadmap? Roadmap, boys!
Hey guys, so
Thank
this
God
is something
we
I'm
made
very
it.
excited about because I spend a lot of time in
Let's go.
Discord, the forums, Reddit, and I'm always asked, where is the roadmap?
Come
so
on,
today
baby.
We're going to dive into the roadmap.
Do not
We have
disappoint
3
with this
seasons
either.
that Scott is going to go into greater detail.
I don't
with.
feel
So
like it
Scott,
will, though.
Take it away.
Well, it starts with spring, which is March. Right now, we're releasing the Tempest Heart Expedition. We've talked a lot about.
I'm pausing it because fuck it. Tempest Heart, new weapon, blunder. Actually, you know what? No, we're gonna let him talk.
It's an endgame expedition where you get to finally close the chapter on the story of Isabella, the Tempest.
Black
We
powder?
also are releasing the Blunderbuss, which is a run-and-gun, shotgun type of weapon. Really fun for movement, combat.
Expedition
especially
Group
close.
Finder? Hell
We're
yeah.
releasing 3v3 PvP arenas. This is exciting. This is where players get to really go in and show their skill and their muster in the game, right? Because if you're in a war 50v50, it's kind of easy to hide if you're not good. If you get in the open world, it's rarely a fair fight. This is your opportunity to show your skills. Along with that, PvP reward track. So for players that get better, we want to make sure they get rewards, for playing it and doing stuff. So there's a really cool reward track that goes along with that. That takes us into the summer. This summer we have another endgame expedition, Barnacles in Black Powder. I think the name gives you a hint of what you're going to run into in there. It's really exciting, and we're super happy to get that out there. On top of that, we have a group finder for expedition. So a lot of players have been asking for this, especially as more players get up into the 590, 600 gear, and they're doing mutations.
Hell
This
yeah.
will help you find groups and make it a lot easier.
Thank
Summer's
God.
going to end with a pretty awesome summer event. We're excited. You've seen how an event is in New World. They're only going to get better as we add more, so it's pretty cool. And then in autumn, we have Brimstone Sands territory, which is this giant desert territory with a whole bunch of different AI that you've never seen in the game. We're introducing a new culture, and it comes with the Iniad, its own expedition. This is an end game, going to be one of the harder expeditions in the game. It is not for the faint of heart. Another big request we've heard from a lot of players is for another new weapon. So I'm happy to officially announce the Great Sword is happening.
And it is epic. This thing is huge, and it's going to live up to the name of the great sword. We have leaderboards coming, which aren't going to be just for PvP leaderboards. They're also going to be for PvE.
I just hope they don't fuck leaderboards up. By meaning of, I hope they don't make it a toxic cesspool. Because that's all leaderboards are, is a toxic cesspool.
Activities, which is pretty cool. And then a couple more events. We have a Halloween event coming, and then, can't really have a Thanksgiving without Turkulon.
Of course.
So Turkulon 2022 is coming, and those of you that remember last year's, we have a few new surprises to put in for this year. Overall, we're really excited, and it doesn't just stop, this is a feature list that, this is a roadmap we're out committed to.
This is for the rest of this year, by the way. Well, actually, they didn't put winter in there. But they put autumn, which goes all the way until November, so.
We also have new mutations coming, we have balance changes coming, bug fixes, and we have a team that just responds to people to stuff that people ask us for in live. So if you see other features work their way in, it's because we're listening to players and we're putting stuff out that they're asking for.
Right, that's awesome. All right, well, thank you so much, Scott, going into greater detail of the roadmap. I'm sure players are going to be super excited to kind of pull this apart. So here they go. There you go, guys, the roadmap for the upcoming 3 seasons.
Not bad, not bad.
And that concludes the dev video for this month. I mean, I'm really excited. We touched on a lot of hot topics that are constantly asked on the forums. And Scott, is there anything else that you want to add?
Just a special thank you to the player support team for coming out and answering questions. They're the front lines of the game, and we appreciate them.
Absolutely. So, I mean, just one last quick question for you is, what are we going to be working on next month?
Next month is all about bugs, bots, and balance again. We're going to deep dive on all of those.
Well, we're getting an expedition, and we're getting a mutation. I don't know if another month of no content, except for one expedition, is going to save this game, because this game is already dying. It's already dying, mate. Doing a whole nother month of only bug fixes and shit like that, I don't know.
We hear the community saying they want us to spend more time on that. That's what we're going to do.
I don't know.
All right, and thank you guys so much for joining us today. My name's Tina Dagenhart, also known as Shadowfox on the forums, and I hope to see you all there.
All right, anyway, final thoughts. Well, actually, let's put the roadmap up here, so that way we can look at this. There we go. All right. So, final thoughts. We already know what's going to happen in the spring. Spring's already on PTR. The arenas aren't, but we already know about the Blunderbuss. We already know about Tempest Heart. So, summer, we are getting a Lost expedition, a pirate expedition. That looks cool. Expedition Group Finder. They are correct that a lot of people have been asking for that, including myself, because finding people to do expeditions is just a motherfucker. And a summer event that they're not leaking all of too much of, which I honestly see to be a good idea. Brimstone Sands territory coming in the fall. Kind of hoping that they do this in the very early fall. I really hope that they release this, fairly early in the fall, right before Halloween, man. They gotta do that shit, very beginning of October or something like that. But we're getting a new weapon, greatsword, and an expedition, which looks like ancients, judging by the picture up top. That looks like an ancient, unless that's just a whole new enemy type. But new mutators, quests, encounters, ongoing improvements, balance tuning, and bug fixes. This roadmap may change, does not include all planned content. Well, there you go, boys. There's your roadmap. There is the dev update for this month of March, which just came out today, 3/18 of 22. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.